don't think so. I mean, assuming they don't get a prolapse or they don't become egg-bound. Yes, in the front row, you got a question?
Yes. It said that male chickens are killed because they don't use them for meat, but does that mean that female chickens are also used for meat as well as eggs?
Yes. So, yeah. So the male chicks, upon hatching, they just go into the blender or a garbage bag, and a lot of people ask, like, well, why don't they just use them for meat, just like meat chicken? The reason they don't is because they don't have that same explosive growth. They're selected for high egg production, not for rapid growth. So it's just not economical. It doesn't make financial sense to use them it might take a year to get them fully grown, and they still won't be as big as a meat chicken at 39 days. So like the amount of food and water you have to put into one of those chickens, it's just very cost prohibitive. But the females, obviously, since you're using them for eggs, they grow up anyways. They won't use them for, like, if you see like chicken breasts or chicken wings, like those didn't come from egg-laying hens. Those came from broilers. Like egg-laying hens, they'll produce things like chicken broth and like maybe stuff that goes into like Campbell's soup or something like that. And like obviously like pet food and just like low-grade chicken products. So this is Penny. This picture is Penny almost exactly 6 months ago. Just a few days short of 6 months, and as you can see from the picture, she's still she looks way better than she did initially, but she's still like bald on the top of her head. She still has this kind of big, ridiculous-looking comb that's just flopped over her left eye. And all of the other hens were still laying eggs and with decent shells. Penny wasn't. So Penny's a Leghorn. That's her breed, and the other ones are Rhode Island Reds. And so Leghorns, they're smaller and they have higher egg production than Rhode Island Reds. But Rhode Island Reds, they still produce quite a few eggs, and they're a bit more profitable at the end of their egg production career because they're a bit meatier than the smaller Leghorn. So yeah, she has larger eggs, more eggs, and she has a smaller body, so it was harder on her. So in this picture, this is the day she basically like put her on birth control. She had a hormone implant put in, and she hasn't laid an egg since. And yeah, this is her at the bed being put under with some kind of gas. And so this is before. So you can see the floppy comb. You can see her wing feathers are still kind of like stick-like feathers. And this sound, I feel like people are going to think I'm making this up because it sounds too good to be true. This picture is taken 12 days after her hormone implant. You can see like her head feathers have come in. Her comb, it's probably half the size that it was before, and obviously it's perked up, so she was full use of her left eye. And you can't really see like her wings or tail feathers, but they filled in pretty quickly soon after as well. And this is how I wake up in the morning. I didn't take this picture this morning, probably a couple weeks ago. And Penny used to sleep on the bed, but now she actually sleeps right, you can't see exactly where she sleeps, but she sleeps on the dresser behind her. There's like a little kind of figurine there that she perches on, where she decided she wants to roost. And every morning, 7:30, she just launches off the dresser onto the bed and sits on me until I get out of bed and open the door, let her outside. That's her routine. And yeah, this is breakfast. You can see like her. Get a better idea of what her feathers look like now. And so, we're getting closer to the end of the presentation. What is our purpose in life? do we want to have in the world? And if it wasn't obvious, I think being vegan is an important part of what, at least for me, and I think for most people, the kind of impact we want to have in the world. If you're, say, an average consumer of animal products, and you choose to be vegan, over the course of just your life alone, just one person's life, that's literally thousands of animals spared the nightmare of the slaughterhouse. But I think the impact we have is actually a lot greater than that, because anytime someone chooses to be vegan, that means everybody in their network now knows one more vegan, so family, friends, coworkers, classmates. And all of those people, just by knowing another vegan, are just one little step closer to making the same decision themselves. And yeah, like you guys are here at school and you're studying, perhaps pursuing a career, and that's important. But when we step back and look at our lives as a whole, like what kind of questions are we going to ask ourselves at the end of our lives? How well did we live? What kinds of things were we concerned about on a day-to-day basis? And I think what we'll be thinking about, or at least one of the things, is how we were in the world. Were we considering the well-being of others around us? And so I'm going to end the presentation with this quote from Jonathan Safran Foer. He wrote the book Eating Animals, and actually he just published another book called We Are the Weather. It's about animal consumption, animal agriculture, and its impact on the environment. But his quote is, "We can't plead ignorance, only indifference. Those alive today are the generations that came to know better. We are the ones of whom it will be fairly asked, what did you do when you learned the truth about eating animals?" So there are other things I could talk about. I didn't talk that much about the undercover work or maybe other kind of insights as a result, more about just the industry in general. If you have questions, I would be thrilled to answer them. Yeah?
So after your 3 years of working in your undercover position, what noticeable changes did you see in the factories that you were working in after they were exposed?
That's a great question. And yeah, I'll tell you by explaining my experience. The response, it's a public relations disaster for any company that is exposed harming animals, because consumers, not surprisingly, aren't crazy about hurting animals. And so what they'll typically do is they'll say, like the CEOs and the owners will say, "We are shocked. We had no idea this was happening in our farm," even though a lot of the time they were there. They were in the footage, condoning and participating in these things a lot of the time. And there's footage of these kinds of things being reported to them. So their response is to throw the lowest level employees under the bus. And so they'll say, "We're shocked. All of those employees, they're immediately fired, and they'll say, we're going to implement a training program to make sure this doesn't happen again." What a lot of people don't know about the industry is that on farms, there is zero government regulation. Every farm in Canada, they're self-regulated. The codes of practice, they're created by the industry. The inspections are from the industry.
There's no inspectors or anything?
There are inspectors, but there are other farmers. There are people, if it's a pig farm, people on the Pork Producers of BC Association, other farmers. And so one thing, when I was working there and when there would be an inspection, we would know in advance. There was never any surprise inspections. We'd know in advance, weeks in advance, and my boss, I would get instructions to clean everything up, to make things look different for when the inspection was coming. But even if, say, across something terrible, what they're not going to do is they're not going to go and say, hey, CBC, Global, CTV, I just want to show you how terrible our industry is. That's never going to happen. They're never going to tattle on themselves. The other thing they do.
Are these families that own these farms? Are they corporations?
It's both. Everybody, including Canada's biggest dairy farm, they say, we're a family farm, which, I mean, depending on how you define family farm, it's technically true. I don't think there's no such thing as a human being who's not from a family. But it's deceptive, because when you say family farm, that evokes an image in someone's mind. Maybe rolling pastures, a small red barn. That's not. That's not what it's like. The other thing they do is, instead of the response being like, hey, let's change the way we operate. Let's do everything we can to try and prevent people from infiltrating and from documenting this stuff. Every farm, every slaughterhouse I worked at, they have you sign a company, like an employee contract. And without fail, every last one said, there's rules, like no filming, no cameras. If they catch you taking a picture or filming anything, you get fired. And the last farm I worked at, which was actually Canada's biggest egg farm, in addition to that, being in the employee contract, they also said, in very explicit terms, they said, yeah, okay, no filming, none of that, and yeah, you get fired. But in addition, this was new. In addition, they said, if we discover that you're working for an animal rights organization such as Mercy for Animals, the organization that I was working for, if it's discovered, you withdraw your right to personal privacy so we can distribute your information throughout the industry to prevent you from infiltrating and documenting stuff at other farms, other slaughterhouses. It said that. That was all in the contract. It wasn't even like subtle. Because sometimes they might say, the reason might be like, well, there's trade secrets. We don't want other farmers to see how our techniques for, like, that's what they'll say. Not in this contract. And I think the reason they did is it's for legal protection. Because something like that's never been tested in court. Would that actually hold up? Just because they make their employees sign that kind of contract, would it be, if they were to try to do that, would it hold up in court?
So
Sure.
What do you do? I'm just so curious.
What's
like,
that?
What do you do? Did you sign a contract, or did you just like leave, or?
No, they signed the contracts.
So why, after 3 years exactly, did you put it exposed? Because you couldn't take it anymore, or because?
A few reasons. That was one of them. It was,
Because of signing it? And just,
well, even though they had that in the contract,
yeah.
and even though legally they're not allowed to distribute your personal information around, they do. You can look up online if you know where to look. You can find the names and the information of undercover investigators who, I mean, they don't work anymore because they can't.
Would your name be on there?
Yeah, it'd be on there somewhere. And so for one, it just gets harder and harder and harder to get jobs. Because the longer you do it, the more they know who you are. And if they know who you are, they're not going to hire you. So yeah. Yes.
Were you involved in exposing the scandal of the BC poultry farm several years ago?
Perhaps. There's been a few like exposés.
Do you know the one I'm talking about? Like, did you hear about it?
I think you might be talking about the chicken catching one, Lilydale, and
There was a video of there. Someone was like they grabbed the chicken by a leg and they were like slamming it against.
yeah.
Like,
So that was not my investigation. I know the person who did it, but I can't take credit for that one person.
Were you just as horrified as I was?
Horrified, probably, but probably not like shocked. I want to make, I know the class is pretty much over, I want to make one point that I really haven't communicated at all. An insight that I got through working in these farms, and that is, before working in these farms, like I'd seen undercover footage before, and I'd seen people doing terrible things to animals, like punching baby calves in the face, and just terrible things, and in my head I thought, those people are, how could someone do that? How could someone be so evil? When I started working in farms, my opinion of people, people working there, it changed dramatically. And really, the people working there, they're victims as well, in a sense. Working in a farm or slaughterhouse, it desensitizes you shockingly quickly. Like when I was working in a chicken slaughterhouse and was grabbing chickens, hanging them up in the shackles as fast as I could. At the beginning, like the first week and a half, in my head I'm apologizing in my head to each chicken as I'm hanging them upside down and sending them down the line. After a week and a half, 2 weeks, that stops. And the way you think about them, like these chickens, not surprisingly, they don't cooperate. They're fighting for their lives. And they struggle. And when an animal doesn't cooperate with you, for very understandable reasons, not only do you stop feeling bad for them and apologizing in your head, you get angry at them. And I got angry at animals. I never punched an animal or anything. I remember on the dairy farm, there was actually one particular day where I had a very strong urge to punch a cow. I didn't do it, and it was for the most illogical reason. It's because when sometimes their udders are deformed and you're hooking up the milk machines and it's falling off, or they're standing with their legs a little bit too close together, that makes it hard to hook up the milk machines. And it made me angry, and I'm trying to keep up with the line, and so it made me understand why other people are doing these kinds of terrible things. And when they do them, the people at the dairy farm, they did jail time for criminal animal abuse. But in the moment, when you're on the farm, these people have no idea they're doing something criminal. It's not like they're not looking both ways to see if anyone's going to catch them. No, they have no idea that they're doing something bad. And it's not surprising when the standard practice is so cruel, cutting off body parts, tearing babies away from their mothers, and obviously slaughtering them. When you look at the standard practice, like punching or kicking an animal is mild by comparison. I almost quit after my first investigation, which was the dairy farm. And the reason I almost quit was not because, I can't handle the cruelty and violence. It's because I saw young people, like 19, 20-year-olds, their lives, I don't think it's too much of an overstatement to say, their lives are ruined, were significantly interrupted. People saw their faces on the news, and people were saying all kinds of terrible things about them, and people don't recognize what it feels like to be in their position. People don't recognize that they would probably be doing exactly what they're doing if they were in that position. I'm positive. If I was in their position, if my life had been just slightly different, I could easily be any one of them. And they are otherwise nice people. They have families, they have senses of humor, they hold the door open for you, they cover your shift. Just like within any other domain, nice people. But they're victims of the system, and this is what it does to your head when you commodify a living being. It changes the way you think about them. So I almost quit because I felt terrible for the people who were, their faces all over social media and I read the comments under all the news posts and stuff, and people didn't have compassion for the people, and people couldn't understand that they are nice people. Anyways,
As Emma was just saying on the film, it's basically, it's the industry is just so rotten that it perpetuates that, doesn't it? So it becomes a normality.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that those kinds of things were happening at every farm, every slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
Not that it would be particularly fun, but if you guys are curious, you go YouTube search Chilliwack Dairy. That, my first investigation, would be the first thing that came up. Or just look at Mercy for Animals Canada undercover investigation, and you'll see them all. And without exception, there's this kind of thing that's happening everywhere.
Yeah, it's fully researchable. So we want to thank you, Geoff, for coming in today. This has been an absolutely brilliant talk. Thank you so much.